Hello there, so here's a video I've been meaning to make for quite some time. You may remember near the beginning of lockdown here in the UK, I started building some LEGO DeLoreans. I started building the only genuine LEGO DeLorean that's available, parted it out from BrickLink because it's a discontinued set that's extremely expensive, so I was able to build it without the minifigures, just getting the parts individually for about £30, nice little model, but very simple, perhaps too simple. So from there, I found an alternative build, a MOC by somebody else, and the model I think cost about £80 from what I remember. There were a lot more parts, I think about 800 in total. I'll leave links to the reviews for those sets down below just so you can check them out. Oh well, I thought it wasn't bad for the money. A lot of people said it looked nothing like a DeLorean and it was rubbish. It did have DeLorean elements to it. You may well be aware that there is one LEGO DeLorean model out there that is top, and that is the UCS model. Well, that's what it's called. UCS kind of implies it's made by LEGO. It is another MOC, and this is it. It's an absolutely astounding, beautiful, very accurate model. In this video, I'm going to look at this a little bit, show you some of the features of it. But to be honest with you, what I really want to talk about is a few of the steps I made to build this more cheaply. That gives you a little bit of a clue. Also, some of the problems I encountered and the frustrations I encountered when putting this together by parting it out from BrickLink, because it ain't straightforward. You really have to be quite committed to build a model of this scale by parting out. You also have to spend quite a bit of money. So let's start with money. Let's get it out of the way. How much did this cost? Well, the instructions for this cost about $30, which I don't know what that is in pounds, 25 quid or something, which is quite a lot, really, before you've even started building it. And unlike a Lego set, where you get the genuine printed instructions and then you can sell it on, when you sell the Lego set, you can't really do that with digital instructions, can you? So in terms of the number of bricks, there's nearly 2,000 bricks in this from my recollection. I'll put the actual number on screen if I'm wrong. I had to buy this across something like 20 different BrickLink stores. It's bringing back painful memories, but that meant obviously postage from 20 different BrickLink stores as well. So in total, including the instructions, the postage, some of which was international, but also the cost of all the bricks, this set cost in excess of £200. My plan was to display all of these little DeLoreans next to each other in my Detolf IKEA cabinet, but to be honest, this is such a big and beautiful model and kind of makes the others look so rubbish that I probably won't end up doing that. I'll probably just display this. Although every time I see this, I see £200 and think, shall I just sell it? So actually that's another thing that's quite relevant. So I built this, I've parted it out, it's costed me a fortune. It's cost me a fortune. What about when I'm bored of it? Do I have to part it out to sell it? Or can I stick this on eBay and say, here you go, £200 for this Lego DeLorean, but I can't give you the instructions and I've already built it and it's not exactly the same as the instructions suggest because I had to cut some corners. Can I do that? Or am I stuck with this now? It is a beautiful model. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can see it's flying here at the moment in flying mode, but each of these wheels do go back into driving mode like that, and that is pretty sexy. You've got to admit, it does look exactly like a DeLorean. I'm not going to do this in any particular good order because I haven't planned this video out. I just want to show you it off the cuff. You'll notice on the bottom of this model, we've got some odd red and tan coloured bricks there. So one of the ways that I was able to slightly reduce the cost of building this model was to take a number of the parts that aren't actually visible when you're looking at it in its kind of not, I'm scared of dropping this now, when you're looking at it from its various angles, and in BrickLink actually removing the colour selection for those items so that when it searched all the BrickLink stores to find the cheapest parts, it wasn't constrained by, you know, them having to be black or having to be light bluish grey. And I think that probably saved a few quid overall. Do I recommend that as an approach? If you really can't afford the more expensive bricks, then yes, but it really does complicate the build, because then you start thinking, oh dear, is this a brick that I'm actually going to see, or am I going to have to deconstruct and then reconstruct the model later on when I realise that this is a brick that's on show? So the other thing about buying from, I'm going to put this down for a second, the other thing about buying lots of bricks across lots of different stores is that inevitably the orders will not arrive at the same time, and sod's law is such that the one order that isn't shipped for weeks, I think there was one with this where the seller was like, oh, I'm not sending it because the lockdown, I'm not going to the post office. In actual fact, I think it's a little bit of a weak excuse, because there were several ways of sending post at that time without physically going to a post office, but I didn't argue with it, and that meant that actually when I tried to build the set, I think for a long time, I couldn't even complete the first instruction in the booklet, because, of course, the parts I needed for the first instruction hadn't arrived yet, despite having a mountain of Lego parts. And while I remember, and this is possibly the most awful thing overall, I believe a couple of the parts I got were actually fake Lego parts. Related to my previous video about Lepin fake Lego, it does appear that the odd Lego part, or Lepin part, has seeped into the Lego ecosystem, which was my worst nightmare. My worst nightmares are coming true. Possibly worst nightmares is probably a bit of an exaggeration, isn't it? So let's have a quick look at a few things on this model in case you can't be bothered to look at some other videos. It's got a bonnet, or hood if you're American and use the incorrect nomenclature. There we go. So that opens up like that, and you can store things in there. I don't know what, it looks like there's supposed to be a spare tyre in there. There isn't one. It's got the gull wing doors, which are a little bit, actually they do stay up, which is, oh, that one doesn't. Actually, that's another one of the problems of parting out from BrickLink. Unless you're going to get all brand new parts, which when you're buying a set of this size, you're probably not going to have the luxury of doing, because all of the parts that are brand new are not going to be a sensible price, and they're probably not all going to be available. So as a result of that, some of the clutch power of some of the older bricks may not be as good. So you get things like that, slippage. So I now can't display this as a gull wing car up like that, which would look pretty cool in a display cabinet, without some modification. The other thing, and something that's, you know, a little bit annoying actually, is because all the parts aren't brand new, there are some inconsistencies in the colours as well, especially with certain bricks that are susceptible to colour discoloration. For example, some of these light bluish grey bricks have got a sort of yellow sun bleach tinge to them, and not just because I've left them on a windowsill for 4 months, but because they did have when I got them. This model has got this damn windscreen, which brings me on to another problem with parting out on BrickLink, which is that this particular windscreen is only available in one Lego set. Out of all the Lego sets they've ever made, this windscreen costs £30. Now, the maker of this UCS model probably didn't actually, believe it or not, design and build this in person. They probably don't actually own a physical model of this set. They use Lego designing software that has the entire Lego inventory available. They've got no idea about the rarity of various different parts, so they've stuck this windscreen on because it is the best and the most appropriate windscreen for a DeLorean. But it just so happens that it is virtually impossible to get hold of it. Part rarity is also a problem just in general. When you need 2,000 parts nearly to build a set, I can almost guarantee that not all of the parts are going to be available on BrickLink, so you're going to either have to wait around or try and buy a set that contains those parts you need. It can quickly become time consuming, frustrating and expensive. But I mean, I guess that's the spirit of hobbies in general, isn't it really? You know, you kind of don't have everything given to you on a plate, and it's not always easy, and it's the challenge that's quite enjoyable with a hobby. And yes, I suppose I did enjoy putting this together. Some of the colours are rare, so these, I think they're called like shoulder pieces here. These, I don't think you can tell, but these are the wrong colour for this particular model. I think likewise some of these green parts here are the wrong greens. I substituted them for very similar colour parts. But if you're a perfectionist, that does leave you feeling a little bit like you've got a kind of inadequate or second best model. But, you know, actually, because my memory is bad as well, I think I'm all right because I've virtually forgotten the things I've substituted. So win-win. There was another problem with buying from BrickLink. Every so often you get an email from a seller saying, oh, I'm really sorry, but I haven't got that part that I said I'd got. I've given you a refund of your 20 pence for the part, but I can't send you the part. And unfortunately, that usually means that you then have to put in a larger order to get the parts you need, which is a real pain. And that even brings me on to the next BrickLink problem that I encountered, which is keeping track of the orders that you've received. If you watch my parting out videos, you essentially create a wanted list with all the parts you need. And then as you place your orders in the various stores, you amend your wanted list to reflect the parts you've received. And you can actually take an order and apply it to the wanted list so that it removes those parts, so that when you then go through the kind of automated buying procedure on BrickLink again, it doesn't try and buy duplicate parts. The problem with that is that if a seller then sends you an order and it's missing parts and you only know they're missing because you've counted and gone through all the parts, you need to remember to amend your wanted list accordingly, or you won't then get those parts. Likewise, if you forget to apply one of your orders to your wanted list, you'll get a load of duplicate parts. Now, I didn't get duplicate parts with this, but there were the odd time where I had an order cancelled for whatever reason, and then I forgot to re-add those parts to my wanted list. So I got loads of the way through the build and then frustratingly spent quite a long time searching through piles of Lego for really insignificant 1x4 plate bricks or whatever, only to find I hadn't got them, and then to kind of look through my list of orders and find that I hadn't actually ordered it from anyone. What a pain. So this was a real challenge to put together, but if you're a Lego fan and you like DeLoreans, and specifically you like Back to the Future DeLoreans, this is the best model you are going to get. I've just remembered as well, these things that cover the wheel, these arches, my word, I think actually they turned out to be incredibly rare. Like, you get one of these in this colour in one Avengers Lego set or something that's like 30 quid. So if you needed to buy 4 of these, you'd have to buy 4 of that set. And then slightly concerningly, I was able to get them from Denmark or something from a seller who had 4 of them, and they just arrived in some little bags. And I didn't pay as much for them as perhaps I should have done. So it makes me wonder whether or not they're genuine. But, you know, hopefully they are. Hopefully they're not fake. Hopefully they were just able to order them from Lego or something, or went to a Lego store to buy them. Oh, I think I'd rather not know. But yeah, this is the best Lego DeLorean out there. I'll leave a link down below to a better review for this because, you know, this isn't particularly in-depth, is it? But I think you get the idea. For now, it's going to go in my Detolf cabinet on display until I need 200 quid, which, as advertising revenue is going down on YouTube, could be sooner rather than later. Anyway, what do you think of this? Would you build this? Let me know down below. My Patreons are scrolling down the screen now. Thank you very much. You're all very generous. Extremely generous are Magnanimous Meg and George Foot. Thank you very much to you. You can join my Patreon, become a Patreon or patron, whatever they're called, for a few dollars a month. You get early access to my videos. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe, and I shall see you next time for another video.